10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Our invocation tonight will be given by Chris Arias. I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the gift of life, family, and friends. We thank you for the much needed moisture that has hit our region here recently. Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide us as we do the work of the city of Tucumcari. May everything we do be pleasing to you. For the sake of his sorrowful passion, have mercy on us and on the whole world. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
How many times do we get to say the pledge today?
Roll call.
Mayor Litchfield.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Here.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Here.
Commissioner Arias.
Here.
Commissioner Cherry.
Here.
Are there any considerations of changes or deletions to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
I would entertain a motion to accept the agenda as is.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Commissioner Cherry.
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes. Next on the agenda is public comments, and I don't believe anyone has signed in, so we will go ahead and go to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is approved by a single motion. Any member of the commission may request an item be transferred to the regular agenda from the consent without discussion or vote. And we will be voting on approval of the work session notes from January 27th and commission meeting minutes from January 27th. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Commissioner Cherry.
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yes.
Next is ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2022-02 is regarding license fees for cannabis-related business. I believe that is explained in our packets. Is there any discussion on this resolution? It is resolved down here on the prices, the fees for the cannabis for $400 for each license.
Okay.
Is there any discussion?
No.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would move that we set the fees for the businesses A, B, C, D, E, and F at $300.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'll read it.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Commissioner Cherry.
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
No.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Okay. Next is bids and contracts. The Tucumcari Airport runway, 826 rehab task order number 9. That would be Ralph Lopez.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. This is a task order on our general services agreement with our engineers for airport services to start the design for the runway 826 crack fill and seal coat. These projects are backwards from our normal grants in that we actually do the engineering, go out to bid, and then request the funding from FAA. So this is the first step in starting this project. We put in a marker with FAA saying that we're going to do our project this year, and this is the first step. So I'd stand for questions, and I'd like to ask for your approval.
Are there any questions concerning this bid? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept the bid for Tucumcari Airport runway 826 rehab, order number 9.
I'll make a motion to. Okay.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cherry.
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva. Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Next is the Hoover tank agreement between the owner and the contractor. And Ralph Lopez will be presenting this one also.
Yes, Madam Mayor. This is the agreement, at the last meeting, we approved the award of the Hoover tank to Final Construction, and this is the agreement that corresponds with that. It's in the amount of $1,141,391.78 without gross receipts tax. This was only to do 2 phases of that project, which is all we can afford on it. And I think it's pretty straightforward, and I ask for your approval on that, and I'll stand for questions.
Any questions or discussion on this one? Yes, sir. Oh, did you have one?
No.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the Hoover tank agreement between the owner and the contractor.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wyatt.
Yes.
Commissioner Ganeva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry.
Yes.
Next one is the amendment to engineering services for the Hoover tank construction management.
Madam Mayor, this is on the third amendment to our engineering services contract for the Hoover tank project. The first one was for the design, second one was for the actual bidding and construction management. And this one is to amend the construction management, since we were only able to award half of the project, more or less. We negotiated and had them reduce their fee to about half so we could afford the project. We were a little bit shy, even only awarding the first 2 bid lots on it. So this reduces it a total of $58,238.40, which matches now the actual construction amount, and lets us award without having to put any additional money in from the city.
Okay.
So I'd stand for questions and ask for your approval.
Any
please.
questions or comments or discussion?
Mr. Manager, do you approve?
Yes, sir, I do.
I would entertain a motion to accept this amendment to the engineering services for the Hoover tank construction management.
I'll make the motion to approve the Hoover tank.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ganeva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Next under new business is appointment for Charles Benavides as alternate municipal judge. Angelica, did you want to present that?
Yes, so as I believe the commission's aware, the municipal judge was in need of an alternate judge in the event that he's ever needs to be gone or out. I did advertise this for, I believe, 2 weeks in the Clay County Sun, and we only received 1 applicant, and that was from Mr. Benavides.
Good.
And he's provided me everything that he needs, so I find that he qualifies to be an alternate judge. And so I stand for any questions or motion to approve.
Any questions concerning this? Okay, I would entertain a motion to appoint Charles Benavides as alternate municipal judge.
I'll go ahead and appoint it.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Ganeva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wyatt.
I will have to abstain because Mr. Benavides is married to my niece, and therefore, I don't know if it's considered to be a conflict of interest. He might not, because it's mostly immediately family, but in all ethics, I will abstain.
Thank you. Okay. Next, under B, is requesting commission to utilize executive lodgers tax funds to support marketing efforts.
Yes,
Mark?
ma'am. I'll be presenting that. On the last page of your packet, page 32 of 32, the back of the agenda, we do have a breakdown of what the marketing firm, Robin, was requesting to finish out the quarter strong. About a year ago, nearly a year ago, when we were working with the applicants for the different events and the different nonprofits asking for funds to establish whether it was rack cards, advertising. We also have visitor guide printing in there. We chose to go a different route and have everything centralized through our marketing firm to make sure the branding was cohesive and consistent. With that being said, we cut out quite a bit of the funding. So my proposal now, this has gone through lodger's tax. They approved it. We are asking for $34,050 out of executive funds and $1,500 out of promotional to complete the items that are listed on the back of the packet. That includes 10,000 24-page plus cover visitor guides to print them, the museum rat cards, printing 30,000 of those, the brick and elm half-page ads, 2 issues, the museum billboard contract print and install, the event billboards, which will come out of promotional, and the Root Magazine new contract for May and June issue for us to complete out the current fiscal year. That's how much funds are required just to get these projects completed. We do have the funds available. Again, it has passed lodger's tax. And at this point, I sent any questions. If not, I would ask for a motion for approval.
Is this the Route 66 magazine that we got a email about?
I'm not sure what the email was about. So there's a difference between the Root magazine, which is international, and then there's Route 66 magazine, I believe, which is published and goes through the New Mexico Route 66 Association here in New Mexico.
I think it was the Route 66 New Mexico one
Gotcha.
that we got the email about.
Which we did have that. The Chamber of Commerce typically runs those ads. Scott was gracious enough in a time crunch to make sure we still secured that back page.
Okay,
That's the back cover of the
Right.
magazine itself. So we did get that approved, pushed that through. So we do advertise with them annually. In this Root magazine, we also advertise with them
okay.
annually.
Any other questions,
So
concerns?
this is gonna pretty much be the beginning of our summer promotional items, correct?
It is, and that's the urgency on it. We want to get those visitors guys printed out before the spring hits, before everybody starts traveling. That's when everything kicks off, the spring break, and you roll into your summer season with Memorial Weekend, typically through Labor Day. I'm not sure if I mentioned, this also includes the distribution of the rat cards from Gallup all the way to Glen Rio, and in between. And Scott said he'd also help with his connections to the different chambers to get this information out to them as well.
I would entertain a motion to approve the requesting of the funds from lodger's tax to support the marketing efforts.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya,
Yes.
Commissioner Ganera.
Yes.
Okay, next is requesting permission to establish an event coordinator through lodger's tax funds. This I need explained to me because I've not heard of this, and then we get this, so I don't know, is this something?
So I want to clarify from the beginning, this is not an action item to vote on anything is in regards to budget. This action item is specifically to get permission as a city manager for myself to move forward with this position if the city commission allows to do so. This was presented to lodger's tax at the lodger's tax meeting last week. They voted to move forward with this unanimously. The original concept behind this was to have an event coordinator. There's a possibility that the city loses 2 different events if a position is not created or if the Chamber of Commerce were not to pick these 2 events up. I know we've talked about it in the past, how much our local events mean to us. That's what lodger's tax is meant to do, is try to get tourism, get these individuals to stay in our hotels and motels, get them to eat at our restaurants, get them to spend money on gas, shop at our local stores. So with that being said, this is similar to a model that other municipalities are doing. I believe Silver City's doing it, Las Vegas, New Mexico, Santa Rosa, New Mexico. So again, the original intent was event coordinator. They provide, those other entities provide free concerts and free events throughout the year. They do not charge a ticket price at the door. In return, that gives these tourists, potential tourists, more money to spend at your restaurant, spend at your stores. They're coming in. If something's free, they're more likely to come in and spend time at the event. Nonetheless, we still have talked about charging for tickets at some of these events. We've talked about bringing the Piñata Festival back. Things that are great for Tucumcari and will truly boost tourism, in my opinion. Along those talks, things kind of progressed. Scott down at the chamber kind of made an outline of things that he'd be willing to, but he's capable of doing if this position were to be ran through the Chamber of Commerce. There were some impromptu meetings that were not public meetings. It was just a few people getting together to discuss the possibility of creating this position. In doing so, I think it's a great idea. If the commission remembers, about 2 years ago, I brought up not the same exact scope, but something similar to not only promote Tucumcari Carry and better efforts to have somebody local to help with promotions when it comes to local events, as well as promoting the city as a municipality, as a government entity. For example, we catch a lot of heat about potholes. I would like to see a person that would go out, maybe not this exact position, but at the time, 2 years ago, the concept was, let's get a city employee or a contract employee out there taking pictures of these guys actually doing potholes. People seem to not see that. Let's promote it. Let's put it on Facebook and say, look, let's thank our city employees for their hard work and the efforts that they're doing to make these streets a little bit better. So that was the concept at the time. Since then, things have progressed. There's been different ideas thrown out. What you see before you is not an action item. It's not for us to act on this right now. This is just simply permission, since it was recommended by Lodgers Tax, to ask if the city commission feels it's feasible and it's realistic to move forward with researching this position. If it is, then that gives me the opportunity to go work on this. There'd have to be contracts drafted, there'd have to be negotiations, potentially RFPs, we'd have to talk about a budget. So this is nowhere near ready to make that decision tonight. With that being said, I'll leave it at that. I'll ask for any comments, concerns, questions. I know there's plenty. I think we've all had our phones blowing up from different individuals about what's going on, why is the city moving so fast on this? Again, it is time sensitive because this position could help the upcoming events if we're allowed to do so with the public health order at that time. And it is time sensitive, but we also have to do it in a way where it's realistic for the city. At the end of the day, I always get on my soapbox about that. That's my job, is to do what's in the best interest of the city.
Well, I agree with you that we do need a events coordinator. I do, but there's some of these that concern me, like they put on here, like the Wheels on Fire partnership with Main Street and the Fired Up event. Why would we be taking that away from Connie?
So we wouldn't. Right now, the Wheels on Fire is already ran underneath the Chamber of Commerce.
With Brandon Golson, right?
They've already passed, he's already passed it on to us. It's a
Oh, has
chamber event. Yeah.
Okay, all
And
right.
the discussion, Mayor, sorry to interrupt you guys, was that Wheels on Fire was a part of Fired Up in the original concept. So that, again, is just an idea sheet to join those back together, but not the final thing.
Again, this was a very informal list that was just put together by Scott. That doesn't mean this is solid. It doesn't mean Chamber was gonna take anything over. The two main events or special events that were talked about were the New Mexico Music Showcase as well as Rawhide Days.
So New Mexico Music Showcase, are they willing to give that over to the chamber?
Yes, they've approached us.
Okay,
So that's who was involved with these meetings. Karen was involved. She was invited because of
Right.
Rawhide Days. Jerry Lopez was invited because of the showcase. I think he's the one that put this together originally. And it's hard for one person to do this on their own, I've had that discussion with Scott when he brought this to my attention. It's still gonna take some input from those boards and those organizations, those nonprofits, to help make this happen. There's no way one individual could do all this on their own.
no,
It's gonna take volunteers, it's gonna take time, it's gonna take effort, it's gonna take money. So again, it wasn't meant to step on anybody's toes, and the reason why we didn't really put it out there so much until the Lodgers Tax meeting is because it's still in its infant stages. It's way too early to really involve so many people. We have to build the bones, the structure of it, and then as things progress and if it's realistic and we're able to move forward, that's when everybody that's involved with this would be invited.
well, the only thing I would appreciate is, I'd like to not be blindsided again. I'd like to at least have known a little bit about this before we came tonight, because I looked at this and went, why are we doing an event coordinator? And then why are we taking all this away from Connie? And so that's the only thing, is I'd just like to be a little better informed, better communication. I know Lodgers Tax was yesterday, but,
Last week.
or
That's
last
his
week,
last
I still have a phone that rings all the time, so,
Well, you know, you probably need to get on your liaison for that.
yeah, probably so, liaison.
Actually, I myself didn't even know about it until I saw it. I caught a little end of it when I came to the larger stack, but I was confused. But to look at it from that, I mean, you're not the only one, Mayor. I don't think Paul even got it either. The situation is, I think it was an idea, and now for the first time you presented it to the commission. Event coordinator is an ideal thing. We used to have it with what we call the piñata back in the old days in the 80s when I was in the council. It still takes volunteers, but it doesn't take all the time of the volunteer. And I remember we would, some of the people that were involved, and I was one of them, we were bringing bailes folclóricos and all that area for the fiestas in those times. And then there was all kinds of, it was a 3-day event. I think Dorsey was the main one that was in charge of it. And then, I mean, as far as making sure the whole year that she continues to keep contacting what she's bringing or not bringing. Also, will this solve the problem that seems to be all the time? And I think it will. Is the problem of every time we seem to get a budget for some of these events from the larger stack, some of these events are not happy at the fact that that's the amount they need, and they go back and they come to the commission. Will this event coordinator make sure that all that is covered under that? Because it's kind of hard, like when you have an event and the larger stack's budget for it, and then the commission votes on it, and then all of a sudden you have another request because it's not enough, they want more money. Well, this will solve that problem, wouldn't it?
It could. So based on this outline, some of my ideas, I changed a few things with this. There would be a set amount for administrative purposes only. So
That's great.
To be the administrator, there'd be a set budget. And then I think you'd still go through the city of Tucumcari, you'd have to get approved at the beginning of the year by lodger's tax. That way we're not going back and forth so much. And say it was $100,000 to promote all these events, however many events we're gonna have. We have that flexibility where we're able to use the executive side. I just have to bring it to the commission, and we can now get the talent. We can have the promotional side still for advertising and billboards and rack cards, et cetera. And you're correct, it's now going between the city and potentially through the chamber, if that's the way it was structured. And you don't have all the outside people worried about, oh, I got shortchanged, this happened, can we get more? That would all be directed between the city of Tucumcari and the Chamber of Commerce.
Good.
So it makes it streamlined, it's a little bit easier.
It's a lot easier because it was, you know, you go give then they come in, you give them the addition, and then the other organization said, well, if I'd have known I could have got that, you know, we would cover more of the expense. I think it'd be a good idea because I know that when we used to volunteer with the piñata, you know what, it burned us up. It seems like the same volunteers were there. Nobody else came in, and if this was an event that you had to book in, like the baile folclóricos and all those people that we would bring in for the fiestas, we had to book them in 6 months in advance, and here we were kind of like wondering where we're going to get the cash to pay them, and we still had to wait come before the lodgers. And this way, one person can handle all that, and if they want volunteers, it's not a big deal to go in and do a little bit, but when all the responsibility falls on you, you get burned out, and after a while, you don't want to do it because nobody's happy anyway. You know what I mean? Of what you're doing, even though all your time and effort is going into it. So I think this is an excellent idea to
Well,
do.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, I think it is too, but I just want to make sure, I know Karen was involved, Scott was involved, you said Jerry Lopez was involved. So was Connie involved in that?
She was not, because at the time, it did not involve Main Street. This came out at the meeting. So at the time, nothing was discussed about, it had nothing to do with Main Street. It had specifically everything to do with an event coordinator. And at the time, we discussed it in the meeting, this was not meant to take over any of Main Streets. It was not even meant to take over the Rockin' 66 Festival. Those are going to be standalone. This was more specifically geared, in my opinion, to the potential events that we were going to lose. We don't want to.
Let me ask you a question. Is this more or less, if they approach you, because they actually, to do events is a lot of work. And some of these people who have done excellent work, like Karen and Mr. Lopez, and all those who do those events, sometimes what happens is you get to the point where you feel that it's taking too much of your time. And is that where the idea developed, that then we put it all under one person? They don't mind helping or pitching in, or whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't take all of your effort and time. Because putting an event takes year round. It's not only one day for 1 week or 1 month. It takes a lot, and then you still have to deal with everybody's personality, you know, and if you have one person that's completely in charge, it makes it equal. And so I can see where those events that you listed here will be part of that. I can see where Connie probably has her own, because Connie has what we call a budget, and her project is downtown. And I think, and usually, you know, she's there, she's almost like a coordinator or a business person that gets paid to be there. Where these other volunteers like Karen Lopez, and I don't know who else, I don't know what events you put in there, Christmas and Halloween, all those, they don't get paid. They have to do it on their volunteer time. So that's the difference, and that might have been why she probably wasn't there at the beginning, because of the fact is that this is a volunteer people that were doing it, and they probably got burned out like everybody else does.
It's stressful. There's been, and I don't want to speak for anybody or go that route, but I've heard specifically that some of the individuals that ran these events, they're burned out, they're tired, it's stressful. You gotta worry about how you're gonna fund it every year, because they're not making money off of this. So the city does have the budget through lodger's tax to put these shows on, and not worry. We have a cash balance, we have money in the executive funds where we can fund these events to keep them going. And that's the concept. That's what we need to keep on doing is, lodger's tax is meant to bring people back, more tourists are taken care of. And we're not gonna be able to do that if we let our events die.
And I agree. Like I say, I agree with the event thing, and I do want to make one thing clear so that nobody takes this wrong. I have not talked to Connie about any of this. I just saw this and wanted to make sure that she was included in everything because of the work she does on Main Street.
Yeah.
She was going to, Mayor, I just don't think it was the appropriate time. Again, when I went into this meeting, it was about the event coordinator. Once we start talking more about the marketing background, once we talk about maybe something to do with Main Street, then I think it would be appropriate. But at the time.
But actually, what you're saying is that these people approach you or approach Scott.
Yes.
And Connie wouldn't approach you guys because she has a job, she gets, you know, the grants and everything to do her stuff. But these are the volunteers we're talking about more than anything else. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that right, Scott, or am I out to lunch?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was all a part of a bigger conversation of the identity of the chamber, you know, and we're trying to go back to what our identity is, which is written here, and where in history we lost that identity to what we were supposed to be in charge of doing. You know, I'll just read a little bit here. It says, among other responsibilities, the chamber also gathers information, data, and statistics, prints brochures, visits new and existing businesses, answers inquiries about the area and the state, advertises and promotes the area through various media, serves as the public relations arms of the community, and distributes information and brochures. So that's what we're talking about. So we're just trying to give the chamber back its job. So that was my concern and why, and my thought when I was putting together that list. But yeah, everything that I do usually involves Connie because we work really close with one another. So this was by no means to leave her out.
Okay, all right, I just wanted.
Yeah, but actually it started from the people that are doing the volunteers in this program.
It would have been the same if we'd left out Jerry or somebody.
Yeah, but Jerry's volunteer, Connie gets paid. That's the difference. You know, don't try to do the pairs.
I just want to make sure nobody's left out.
No, and I don't think that was the intention, if that's what you were saying, but it's not.
And Mark, all these numbers are preliminary, right?
Yes, this is an outline. This is not being voted on tonight. What I'm asking permission to is take it to the next level.
Okay.
If the commission feels this is an appropriate position, we have a work session, potentially next meeting to discuss it. It gives me a chance to get things formulated in a contract. But this is just the concept right now. This is not happening tonight because there's a lot of concerns that when we said in our meeting, I marked things up line and said, well, the city would be able to do this. We'd have to consider this, this, and this. It's just, I didn't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to waste Scott's time. I don't want to waste these promoters, the nonprofit's time. I don't want to waste my time. There's plenty that we could all do. So I wanted permission if we felt this was realistic to move forward with.
And so Scott, your board is on board with you taking this on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Mark, I think everybody agrees. Before we have a work session, I'd like to make sure everything's legal. If you're looking at more of the contract, I want a detailed scope of work to be done. If it's going to be an employee, a good job description, you know, and I don't have any problem with that. So Madam Mayor, I would move to grant permission to the city manager to conduct a feasibility study for establishing an event coordinator.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call please.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Vargas.
Yes.
Okay. Next is the city manager's report.
Thank you. So the first thing I wanted to do is give an update on Municipal Day. Myself, as well as Commissioner Arias, Commissioner Cherry, and Mayor Pro Tem Moya, were able to make it to Santa Fe. We were lucky and missed the big storm. Well, I guess most of us were. Mayor Pro Tem Moya got stuck at Klein's Corners for a few hours. And we chose to go through 84, and we were lucky and didn't hit any issues. With that being said, we were able to get an update from AJ from New Mexico Municipal League and talked about some of the pressing bills that they have right now pushing through. Some were good for our local municipalities, some not so well. One of the high points that I hope passes is for LEPF, Law Enforcement Protection Funds. If that goes through, we would receive $1,500 per each law enforcement officer, and also would bump up to $90,000 for the actual station itself. Previously, I think it was as low, currently is at 1,020.
It was 20 and 100 or whatever. It goes up this July to 40 and 1,000, right? And I'm
Previously,
answering because.
previously in years past, it was $20,000 flat rate and $600 for every certified officer that you had. It's now, this year is gonna be $1,000 for every certified officer we have, and it's a $45,000 flat rate. And,
If
Mr.
the
Chair,
current bill passes, it'll jump up to $1,500 per certified officer and $90,000.
yeah, that'll be the next fiscal year, so that'll be great.
So if that goes through, that would be amazing, because typically we use that to purchase the new vehicles for the department. So if we could even get 1 or 2 vehicles plus the things we need to outfit it, more equipment that goes back in for our law enforcement safety, this is huge. So that was one of my favorite bills that I hope everything goes through. There was also some election bills that were a bit worrisome. I won't go into too much detail with that. The other thing that I was worried about was, I believe it was House Bill 2. State police would get an automatic raise. My concern with that, as well as the other municipalities, is that opens up the potential for us to lose our officers because they're getting funded straight across the board. So I know there's discussion on trying to get the legislators to maybe make that across the board through municipalities as well. Because if not, we're gonna get cannibalized by the state police. There's no way we can compete with those rates.
State police getting 19% increase in it.
I think 15.
No, 19.
I thought,
According to the,
I thought 18, so we're all in the middle somewhere.
Doesn't make any difference.
I know
it's still a lot, because at the meeting at the whatever you call it, at the La Fonda in the morning, they said 19, and that's when the guy from got up and said how much he got paid for his officers in Santa Fe, which was $15 an hour to start off or something like that.
It was very close to what we start our officers at, which was surprising to me considering the money circulating through Santa Fe.
Yeah, and I was shocked when I heard $15 an hour or something like that.
The other thing I wanted to discuss is there was a bill that was sponsored by Senator Campos in an effort to create a fund for EMS departments. EMS kind of gets the short end of the stick, where there's a fire protection fund and there's also the law enforcement protection fund. So now EMS, they said for their budget only gets 2.9 million. The LEPF fund was 22 million, and fire protection is 90 million. So what they're trying to do is establish that fund for EMS to help with costs as well, which I hope that passed. That's another one that would be encouraging if we could get that to pass. There was also the discussion about destination sourcing for taxes. I know it affects everybody a little bit differently. It may benefit a municipality, a city entity, but hurt the county. And that's what's going on in the southeast portion of the state, especially with the oil industry.
Yeah.
There was also something that was very encouraging through the lawsuits that was against tax and rev, which we were a part of. there were some extra funds that went back to New Mexico Municipal League for some of the attorney fees and administrative stuff. With that being said, those extra funds, I felt was something positive, something that Mayor Pro Tem Moya had brought up, is the need for grant writers. There's a lot of federal funds that are coming down, a lot of grant opportunities. So what the Municipal League has chose to do with those funds that they're receiving back from tax and rev, they're gonna be hiring grant writers. Not only are they gonna hire grant writers, it's gonna be train the trainer. They're going to be able to train these grant writers and help relay that over to the local municipalities. So I think that's right in line, which we have discussed previous meetings, and I'm excited to see that not only will they be hiring those grant writers, they're also gonna put together templates that they could push out to the municipalities, make it easier on us, for our own people to do that, including training, as well as some admin tracking software for those grants. There was a lot of other good bills. I'll leave it at that for tonight. Wanted to touch that we did have the lodgers tax meeting last week. It was very productive. I feel we're moving forward with our marketing plan, and now that the commission was able to approve those executive funds tonight, we can execute on all this planning and design that we've been doing with that visitors guide. Also wanted to give an update to the potholes on Second Street. The crew was out there today. They're supposed to be. I didn't get out and check on it. I didn't have time this afternoon, but Mr. Arias did say that they should have been out there on Second Street fixing those potholes today. Also worked on a letter authorizing water usage for the cannabis industry. Worked back and forth with Mr. Najjar that has assisted us with our cannabis ordinance. I think he put together a really good draft of a letter. Also collaborated with Mr. Harwood, our water rights attorney. Combined the two together, and I think it's something that came out really well. Also had an email and a future meeting with Pat Vanderpool and Rebecca Cook, who works with NMED in reference to brownfields work. We're hoping to maybe get some funding, whether if it's just for an environmental study, phase one, some kind of help for the old trucking terminal. And we're also going to be meeting to discuss any other nuisance or problem, brownfields properties within the city we may have a concern with, to see if we could receive funding to help those as well. And with that, Mayor, that's all I have for my manager's report.
Good.
I have a question. Why don't you elaborate a little bit more on the water and the cannabis, because that's really a very important issue that I would like to understand better. What are the preliminary thoughts and ways that you guys think?
So the only thing I could commit the city to, since we are still funded federally, cannabis is still illegal at a federal level. So we have to be very careful how we worded the letter. We have a disclaimer there stating that the city does not condone, promote any kind of cannabis production, anything that's deemed illegal. But we are capable of providing water service. So any place within the city, or even in the county for that point, if we provide city water,
That's right.
we're able to provide it for that purpose. We didn't go out and state, well, you can use our water and we'll give you 1 million gallons to grow as much cannabis as you want. It's very specific and short to the point that we do have water utilities at this location. And as long as you're a good standing customer and you follow all state, federal regulations as well as the local ordinances, you are able to use water.
Well, are we gonna have a different rate? Because this is for irrigating agriculture type thing, not necessarily like we do our regular residents. And we do provide a lot of water out to the west of 13 miles and then also to the Hill Village and that Liberty, whatever.
We do, but once it's sold to the co-op, they have to go directly to their water utility provider. Similar, I guess, to like Albuquerque, they have Albuquerque, Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority. If they were living outside those areas, for example, in RAD or Liberty or Hills Village, they would have to go to that specific water provider and they would have to provide the letter.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're gonna be utilizing water for irrigational purpose, you're gonna be having higher consuming, and that increases our water production. It's okay, good to a point, but if we grow also the community, and remember, the application clearly clarifies that if you're gonna be in the agriculture business, you will have to explain where you're gonna get your water. And certainly, we don't wanna be liable for something that we cannot do.
So I'm glad you brought that up. That's why we have the disclaimer, and that's why we have the last paragraph stating you must follow all local ordinances. We actually have a water conservation ordinance that once you get to an extreme level of level 3,
Mhm.
we were in that bad position. I don't like that it's on me, but it says per the authority of the city manager, we could ask our large consumption customers to actually cut back on volume. And there's rules, there's penalties, you could eventually cut it off if we had to. I've never seen that, I don't know if we'll ever see that in our lifetime, our aquifers are good.
we don't.
Let's pray we don't, but we've been in a place and with water studies and engineering and things that have gone on since I've been with the city, we are more than willing, more than capable of providing those water volumes.
No, we do have plenty of water, acreage of water in the west, on the west water field, aquifer. But the problem is that if we're gonna do that, are we gonna put the Liberty and RDA on a liability when they commit to helping somebody with their irrigational project with city water and not our Shirley water?
I agree with that concern. It was one of my concerns as well, and the attorney and I discussed it. If we get to that point, that'll be a bad day. We'll be worried about a whole lot more, I think, than just kind of.
And sometimes it's not necessarily the acreage feet of water that we have, sometimes it's the production or the maintenance in this situation is what I'm talking about. We can have all the water we want, but if we don't have the adequate equipment or whatever to produce it or whatever, then, we're certainly not gonna cut our city residents out of the water, to subsidize somebody else because we don't have the production level. It's not a matter of the aquifer, it's a matter of production being delivered.
And I agree with the typical operations and maintenance of the equipment and the wells.
The storage.
Again, we're lucky, and the storage as well, we're lucky that we do have the ordinances, any act of God or maintenance, things of that nature, we can't be held liable. So I feel very protected as far as any kind of suits coming from growers based on our current ordinances. And as far as running out of water, I'm not as worried about that as, like you said, maybe some maintenance issues.
Yeah, that's the area I'm more concerned about, because if you're looking at some of these plants, if you're looking at plants, there's a button alone, and if you look at it, what it goes for right now on the market, you look at almost close to $1 million in production on what they call a microgrower, Okay, so that's, as long as we don't put anybody in jeopardy as well as ourselves, I don't see a problem, because we certainly don't have that kind of money to be fighting.
Yes, sir, I agree.
And everything we sell goes through a meter.
It does.
Any more questions? Okay. Next on the agenda is items from commissioners. Start with Commissioner Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much tonight. I do have a note for, to push that there are open seats on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so any interested party, if they would please get a hold of, in Halifax, correct, for an application to apply for the Planning and Zoning Commission. I know they've been low on people for a little while now. Certainly, if you are interested in serving on any boards and commissions the city has, please get a hold of our city clerk. Just that way, we all help keep the city running.
Good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Cherry.
Madam Mayor, I did attend the Lodgers Tax Board meeting last Wednesday, and so I think you have the full report now.
Yeah, I do now.
So I apologize, I would have covered it tonight. Yeah, and I did attend these people, the municipal league, municipal day, and believe it or not, I saw a lot of old friends. Point out that I think I've been a member of the municipal league for 32 straight years.
Wow.
Well, your
Yes,
municipal number is 2, so
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya.
Question I have, I know we have a code enforcer of what's happening with the property at the 500 block that on 3rd Street. People are still calling me on it. They say it's really, the windows are busted on that house. It's the old MR, whatever you call that home.
Which home?
That one on 3rd Street,
The group home?
Oh, yeah.
It is a disaster.
It is, yes.
And transits are going in and everything else, and the neighbors are a little upset about it. And I said, well, I already brought it up, and they said they do have a code enforcement, but what's happening with that?
I've checked on a few of the properties I brought up in a previous meeting. This one's new to me, so I will.
No, I brought it before. I brought it to the commission under items and commissioners. It's not new to you because I brought it up.
By the way, I will get with the police chief or with Monica and see where that's at. I know a lot of these properties, they have been cited, as stated in the last meeting. Sometimes these property owners are from out of state, sometimes bench warrants get issued, and then it stops from there. So I will get you an update and let you know what's going on with that.
It really looked
It does.
bad. It's nasty and the windows busted, everything, and doors kicked in. Doesn't look good for that one anymore.
That burnt house next door?
Yeah, there's one right next to it.
Yeah, also.
Yeah.
And, I guess, so we're back out there in code enforcing?
Yes.
That's good. The question I have also, I'd like to bring up this, Mayor, and I think it's important to bring it back up, because this is one of my things that I really have it dear to me, and that is the Princess Theater. I'd like to see when we're gonna be able to get the task force going.
I know.
And I'll be honest with you, I really, really feel the need for the Princess Theater to be up and in a situation where we can utilize the downtown area. As I recall, you were here too as well, when we used to have all the theater group that used to have some beautiful theater entertainment and it was great. And they would have like primary Monday morning or something that you would go to, I mean, not Monday morning, first time.
Right.
Yeah, production. It was fun. It was comical. It was real good. And we lost all that little culture that we need, and certainly we need to get back with it. And also at the same time, we also need to look at the fact is, I really, really like the art in that area. And I think we need to also look at the fact is we need to be a little more serious about it. We need, even the day that I came to I came at the last, 10 minutes of your larger stack, I came to talk to Mark, because Senator Compass had called us, and he was concerned about some issues, but one of the issues he asked me, how come you guys have never continued to put anything in for the theater? And he said and you guys are working heavy on your Main Street and everything, but yet you got one item that should be included, So all in all, we need to really get serious about it. We need to put it together. I think also, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm pretty sure I'm not, because I talked to the gentleman before, Connie. I think Connie has funds from the Main Street to do a structure or whatever you call it, or some sort of, they do have funds for that, so they can do some sort of a project on the theater, either the structure or architect or something. I know they do bring people in that are available to them in the Main Street.
And Scott has also said he would be interested in being on that task force also.
Okay, yeah, and those are key issues. I don't know, but they do have some, because I remember the name of the guy that was there before Connie.
Mark Lake.
Gail Hauser.
Yeah, anyway, so I think she does have, maybe she can utilize some of that, since that's part of her project in the middle of town, and certainly we would like to see that. Because right now, if you look at the second in Main, the disaster there, and then you look across the street, you have a theater that the front is coming apart, falling all the time, and so, it doesn't make too good of an impression. Once you get through seeing the murals, you're ready to go home, and I think if we can draw more attraction to downtown, it will help.
Okay, I'll get on that.
Good, certainly we need to be there. And the other thing I'd like to bring up is, I think what was the problem with our lobbyists, we were having trouble getting all our bills that we had introduced. What was the big deal that we had to sit and more explain where they were at and whatever? It was not in the area that he should be in.
So I have a follow-up phone call tomorrow with Kathy. We talked on the phone today as an update. She's working hard to make sure things are where they need to be. I'm not sure why our Route 66 infrastructure project turned into road repairs on Route 66. So we discussed that. On a positive note, I'm happy to announce that the junior funds request that I had asked Kathy to put in for a new roof for the recreation center, that did make the list, so I'm hoping.
Well, they had a lot of money.
We'll get that, but we still need to make it right, and I'm still working out the kinks to make sure, hopefully that, it's not too late to get that corrected. I'm not sure how that happened, but.
Well, yeah, because it makes it hard for us when we call some of our representing senators, and we tell them they want to go look on Capitol Outlay, and they're scattered all over, and we're paying a lobbyist. I don't understand why these lobbyists didn't talk to Senator Campos when I called him about all the projects we had, and he couldn't find but one, I think.
I'm not
He could
sure,
only find something with a radio at the PD, you know.
that was the county put in that request.
Yeah, and that was the county, but as far as the city, there was nothing that was coordinated as it should be.
I'm just still concerned, like I said, I'm not sure how that scope changed. I know we moved quickly last minute. Mr. Lopez came in on his day off to help put together a scope of work. We had numerous phone conversations, so how that scope got changed or amended and it turned into road improvements on 66 didn't make sense to me, but it has been addressed. And
But also the other objects that we had requested were not under an area that our senator could find it, one of our senators could find it. And this is what I'm saying, Nancy, you know, if we hadn't got involved, he wouldn't even have been able to find anything. How do we get our own representative and senator to help us if they can't even find what we're requesting?
I agree.
So actually, you need to visit with our lobbyists, and if they can't do the job, then we need to get somebody else. Because we don't have that kind of money. We need the money from the state, from the capital outlay, and from other, and they had a lot of money this year. So that's something that I was very, very concerned about. And let's see, listen, and I was reading today some of the contracts, and I think in some of our contracts that we do with the city, with anybody who's doing any kind of contract work, because of the nightmare that we had with the Second Street project, I think when we have a timeline on any of the contracts, there's one of the contracts did have it, that there should be a fine following the date of completion if it's not completed. And I think that, you know, what happened here at Second Street was a nightmare, and it really created a lot of hassle for the people that in the commission. And I noticed a couple of contracts did not have a time to end, and if they wasn't completed by the time that we requested it, then a fine should be in there for non-compliant.
Which contracts are those, sir?
I know, I can't remember, it's in one of this here, but in generality of all of them, you know, they should have a date of completion. And if the contract is not completed on a certain day, then there should be a fine per day. Because
We typically do have, that's usually standard language, that's why I was curious.
But on the first one, before the airport one, it didn't have it in there. I think it might have been in the water tank, I don't know, but it's in there. And I was looking at it and I go like, wow, it's in one, but not in the other. Anyway, so those are kind of the areas that I was concerned about, and certainly it's because, don't forget what happened with us on Second Street. It was a nightmare within a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it was not fun because everybody was upset and nobody could do their business because the whole thing was closed down. Okay, now, other than that, let me see, other than that, I don't have anything else. Those are my areas of concern at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Villanueva?
Yes, I just want to apologize to my commission and my people that I didn't get to go to that meeting in Santa Fe. I had a death in the family. We need to see about lids on dumpsters on Choctaw and Turner and that area.
Lids?
The
Lids?
lids that broke. Guys saying that I guess trash is flying out, cats are getting in there and tearing up bags.
If I could get an exact address, we could get a work order.
He said he called a few times and reported it, but
If he placed a formal work order?
yes, sir.
I could get with you after the meeting and try to get an exact address, and then I could look into the work order system, make sure it's in the system.
Like I told him, we're shorthanded. Got a couple other things to do. How much these old motels that are still, people are throwing trash out there, couches, mattresses.
Same thing kind of is discussed last meeting. It's not due to a lack of effort from code enforcement or the city. Letters are going out, court dates are being issued. There's a certain point where either it dies at the judicial system where they get time extensions, or sometimes it's a possibility, like I said, bench warrants are even issued. And since most of those owners are, I believe, in California, if they were to get pulled over by a cop, they're not going to extradite on a little bench warrant for a nuisance ordinance. That's kind of the problem. But we still work on it diligently. Monica's still sending letters, still working on it as best she can. There's a point where there's a liability concern. If we get on private property, we go take that trash. There's been different lawsuits that I've been made aware of when I was on the part of the planning and zoning, New Mexico planning and zoning officials through Municipal League. There was a gentleman, they did the same thing. They went out to his property and cleared tires and a bunch of rubbish. And then he came back and said that had sentimental value, and he sued the city, and I think he ended up winning. So I know it's not the popular decision or what people want to hear, but we are trying, and there are certain liabilities there. That's why we have to be careful on how we approach things.
And I want to thank what do you call it, shop for doing all the follows. Looks good. I want to thank the cemetery. I had a complaint a while back, I guess, one of the stones was too close to the road and they ran over next to it. Big block, thank that crew.
These departments do a great job. There's a lot of stuff like that. If I don't hear about it, that's good news. That means people are following the process. It's going through the department heads, and they cut it off before it gets to hopefully the commission or to me as city manager. So hats off to our department heads for all the hard work they do.
And I want to see if we could bring up a little meeting between the mayor and the commissioners and the city manager.
Okay. An executive session?
It says.
You want it for the next meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for the 24th? Okay. Is that agree with everybody?
Okay.
Okay.
And that should be it, Mayor.
Okay, what I have is, I've been getting quite a few phone calls on about the code enforcer. It started back up again on attitude and rudeness, and so if you could tell her you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Just be a little nicer. I mean, I know it's a problem, but anyway. Also too, what about the Sundowner, the old Sundowner property on First Street? Do you know who owns that?
I do not.
Where is that?
Chenault and first.
Yeah, Chenault and First Street. Used to be where the,
Oh, you mean Curry,
Curry's.
Curry's
Yeah.
Helen Ling's pink house.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then
That's a
Curry's
beautiful.
owned it, and someone else has owned it
Yeah.
since, but it's got worse weeds. It's got worse weeds than.
Yeah, I seen it whenever time I go by there.
Than Kentucky Fried Chicken. So,
Yes.
and everybody jumped on Kentucky Fried Chicken, but they haven't jumped on that one.
On that one.
So anyway, I'd like to know more about that. And also too, on that mental health home, we need to find out who does own that and get that one, because it looks terrible, just right down from the courthouse too.
And the good thing about it, Mayor, we have new neighbors that are coming in the area, and they're really trying to improve the area.
Right.
I was remembering that.
Also too, is it and I know we all voted on it and agreed on it and everything, but is it a conflict of interest for our lobbyists to be representing the county and the city?
That's a good question.
Because, it kind of concerns me when the county gets a lot of stuff and the city doesn't,
That's right.
and we're using the same lobbyists. I just wonder if it's a conflict of interest.
Especially when you can find what you put in.
Yeah, so it might be something to look into.
Yes, ma'am, I will do that.
I'll set a meeting when I get a better calendar for March for the Princess Theater Task Force. We were meeting at noon, is that still at noon, a good time for you? Okay, and I know I had Carlos Romero on there. I had that one lady, I've got her name.
Yeah, she was really interesting.
Muriel,
Yeah.
Muriel,
Yeah.
something.
And we can add some more,
Yeah.
I mean, the more
Right,
ideas, the better.
right. So anyway, we will get that going in March. I'll make myself a note on my calendar. Other than that,
Oh, Mr. Holiday, if you want to come.
oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll put you down. So,
Sorry.
okay, Bobby Hockaday. All right. Other than that, I don't have anything. I don't know what the score is for our Lady Rattlers tonight. I'm hoping to,
Good.
I
anyway.
do have a comment.
Pardon?
I do have a comment.
Okay,
I'm working on a proposal, on opening up a proposal tomorrow, and I believe we'll probably be ready for it to be awarded next week.
okay,
So just FYI, I will be giving the commission a call to schedule a special commission meeting for
for
I'm
next
glad you
week.
brought that up. I'd space that. Is there a preferred time and date? We do have to get this done. We're talking about potentially $1.7 million to go away
Yeah.
for our streets, so we need to get on this.
Anytime, as far as I'm concerned,
Pretty much, Shane.
just let us
You say
know.
when?
Actually,
What is
I'm
your
meeting
day
you.
off? Do you have a day off
I'm off on the weekend.
all weekend?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay,
So I was
I
thinking maybe Thursday afternoon.
That'd be
about
fine.
2.
okay, 2:00 on the 17th, is that right?
Commissioner Villanueva, since we're meeting already, is your executive session item something urgent that we should add it sooner?
Not really urgent, I'm just, concerned of 15.
Okay.
That's what I brought up.
Did you say an afternoon meeting?
Yeah, 2:00.
2 o'clock on Thursday.
Next Thursday. Please remind me.
And I'll send you a little email.
On the 17th, okay.
Yes.
All right, other than that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Okay, roll call.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb, Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Commissioner Chu.
Yes.
Those are all.
They had a total